Jazz Fest tomorrow. I'm actually in the studio that I recorded the album in.
Man,
Yeah, I'm working in the session tonight. Yeah, I'm here in New Orleans, man. I'm home.
all right, well, we about to get started. Let's go. You ready, JR?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
What's good? What's good? What's good? You tuned into the Corner Radio hosted by your man, Kill Man. Yo, I've got a dope show for the night, man. And before we even get into our special guest, gotta shout out my brother JR. What's good, big bro?
What's going on, bro?
Man, everything is good. Everything is good. So let me tell a quick story before we get into this. So anybody who knows me knows that I live with music. You know what I mean? I'm not one of them people who an album come out and I'll listen to it for 24 hours and it's on to the next one. So I was enjoying Kendrick Lamar. People getting at me like, yo, Kill, what's up with, Joey Badass? What's up with Styles and Talib's album? And I'm like, yeah. They up next, but just let me enjoy the Kendrick. And out of nowhere, I start seeing JR hitting me up on Twitter talking about PJ Morton. And I'm like, yo, I've heard the name, but I don't really know dude like that. And I mean, JR was bigging up this album Gumbo so much that I was like, yo, I'm going to have to just dead Kendrick for a minute and just let this PJ Morton Gumbo joint just jump the line and just jump into it. And the one thing, like, and JR knows this, I've been doing like working with music labels and podcasts and blogs and everything. I was back in Philly. The thing about this Gumbo album is that it's the first album ever that I was able to write the review for while listening to it. Because it was that dope that I was literally able to sit there and write the review from the first and second listen. Number two, it's the only album that I've ever listened to that every song stayed on repeat. Most times you hear song one, you be like, all right, let me run that back. Song two, I'll go over. I listen to every song on repeat numerous times. So with all that said, everybody should know we got my man PJ Morton sitting there with us tonight. What's going on, bro?
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. Good to be hanging with y'all.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Yo, you got to tell me, man, this album is amazing. It is flat out amazing. The only knock that I could even see people having on it, and I love it, is that it's short.
Right.
But I love it being short. I love it. I love going back to the 70s and 80s when albums used to be 8 cuts.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that aspect of it. But like I said, that's the only thing that I could see people having a gripe with, only because it's so dope. So tell me this, what made you want to make it so short and to the point? It's a half an hour, it's an easy listen. What made you go there?
Well, for a couple reasons. I mean, I've been trying to make a 9-song album for a long time, just so I could be next to some of my heroes, Stevie, Intervisions, Purple Rain, Thriller, all 9 songs. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? So I always wanted to do that because I felt like the classic people did that, and another reason is I want people to know all the songs. Like I sometimes songs serve as fillers or they serve as these things. I want, when it's over, I tell everybody when they say, "Man, it's so short," just go back to the beginning and listen to it again, so you get all of this in you. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like everything I said on there was important and something that I wanted to get across. So that was a part of it. And I feel like maybe the reason that they made these short albums back in the day was because they were coming from a single society, right? Where singles were so prevalent that they were like, okay, well, we can't overload. It's already a short attention span. Let me not give them too much. And I feel like we're back there where it's like, I'm still an album guy just because I just love a body of work, but I still understand where we are as a culture and didn't want to overload,
Right. And I feel you, because it seemed like I said, for the 70s and the 80s, that's what the game was. And it seemed like once CDs came out and you had 80 minutes, I guess I felt like let's use the whole 80 minutes. And you had albums like, I think Ray's Built for Cuban Links Part 2 got 24 songs on it, And a lot of times for those albums like that, I feel like if you would have trimmed it down, we'd have more classic albums. It's just sometimes, like you said, it's just a little fat on there.
A lot of music. Yeah, a lot of music. Yeah, even if it's great, it's still, a lot of music. I mean, I took songs in the key of life in chunks, you know what I'm saying? And I love it. But it's a lot of music. You usually end up picking out your joints, you pick out your ones. But I want it on this album for all the songs to be the ones, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Now tell me this: you're from one of my favorite cities, New Orleans. Anytime I can travel, I love coming to New Orleans, and I'm not talking about because I got a lot of people who be like, "Oh, I went to New Orleans. I've been to Bourbon Street." I'm like, "Nah, I'm like Ninth Ward, New Orleans. Like
Right.
I talk
Right.
Fest, New Orleans or Mardi Gras. I went to New Orleans. My homegirl Trey is from there, and I was like, "Yo, I don't want to see no tourist stuff. Like, take me out to Treme and all these other spots. Like, that's where I want to go." And I feel like there's just like a magic in that city, especially
Yeah.
to the music. So, talk a little bit about growing up in New Orleans and how that led to you being who you are right now.
Well, I think, you know, because sometimes people ask me that question from like a sonic perspective, like musically, and it did shape me musically, but more than that, it shaped me like conceptually, in the sense of um, this city instills in you to respect the music because it's there from the beginning. So we're taught to respect the music and the musicians. You know, we put our musicians next to the doctors and the lawyers here because we run the culture. You know what I'm saying? So when you see somebody who plays music, you like, yo, you better, that guy, he's got, you know what I'm saying, he's special. So I grew up with that as a badge of honor, knowing that, man, I have power. If I'm a musician, that gives me power. So I think from that perspective, it it built integrity in me. So so effort, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't diss any type of music that's out right now or anything. I think any music could be dope. You know, I listen to everything, but I think there is a level of lack of effort. Like, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I made that beat in 5 minutes, and that's like, people,
Mhm.
you happy to do that. It's like, that's
Right.
cool if you do, and it's great, but like, don't let that be your thing. Like, oh yeah, yeah, I just made that in 5 minutes. I just did put that together. It's the effort that's been that we missing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I could never get away from that because I know somebody will pull my shirt and be like, nah, man, you from New Orleans. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta say that. You gotta say that for real. Whatever you're gonna say, make sure you say it in a way that you put effort, integrity into. So
Yeah, and it's crazy you said that because I've been in the studio with cats and they're like, "Yo, I gotta get this in one take like Jay," and I'm like, "You really don't." You like, if
right,
you put
right.
it one take, that's wonderful. If it
That's
takes,
great. Right, exactly. Yeah.
it's great. But like you said, it's almost like this litmus of, I made this beat on my iPhone. I can
Hmm.
tell you made it on your iPhone.
Right, 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 right.
Do you like do you? If we
Hmm.
gotta be here all night, that's what we have to do to get this right. But it's like so many people, like, oh, I gotta get it right in the first take, or I don't write my rhymes down no more. I write them in my head, and it's all because
Yeah.
you heard Jay said or you heard Big said it. Then
Right.
now that's the place where you want to be. So it's funny that you would just talking about that.
That's another thing in our culture too, because we used to really, genius gets thrown around so much, but we used to really put our geniuses up there, right? So when a Jay says, I don't write stuff down, or when a Wayne says it, everybody else thinks they could just say that and do that.
Right.
But they weren't saying it to be braggadocious in that way. They just saying, like, this is what it was. Me, I
Right.
learned how to play piano. Nobody taught me how to do that. But I wouldn't. I'm not saying that in a. It's just that's just what happened. You know what I'm saying? But then people try to copy the genius and say, oh, well, Kanye made it in 5 minutes, so I could. You know what I'm saying? But it's like,
Right.
no, you don't know what went into that first. You know what I'm saying? For it to
Right.
become like that. So a lot of times in this culture, we just see the end product and then want to just be the end product without understanding all the stuff that went in to get you there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I definitely feel you. Now, like you said earlier, that in New Orleans you hold your musicians in the same levels as the doctors and the lawyers. Like, where's that come? Because for some reason, for New Orleans, I just always look at it like music is almost like the foundation of that city. Like, it's almost built on music. So,
It
I
is.
guess am I right for thinking that way? And why is it that New Orleans and so many other places don't? Because I've never heard anybody else say that
Hmm.
about their city. We hold our musicians in such high regard.
Right. It's the same way like Detroit, where you have factories, and
Mhm.
and so my dad, you would say my dad worked at Ford for 30 years. I'm a build cars. That was Detroit's business, right? Our family business in New Orleans is musicians. You'll meet some where this isn't the case in other cities. You'll meet like fifth generation musicians. You know what I'm saying? Of people who came over and created jazz. And I know Buddy Bolden, who created jazz. I know his great great grandson. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think because of the history of music and how far it goes back, you meet cats who like, oh yeah, no, my grandfather, my great grandfather was a musician. I'm gonna do that. It's the family business. So I think it's culturally built in different than it is in other places.
Right. And it's crazy because after the whole Katrina situation happened, it was so amazing to me because I said it's got to be something special about the city because people wanted to go back. And me looking
Right.
as an outsider in is like, yo, who wants to go back to a city that that this storm is going to hit almost every year? Maybe not to the extent of a Katrina, of course, but that you
Right.
have to deal with this. And I'm just like, it's something special about that city that nobody wanted to. Of course, some people did move, but
Of course.
people
Right.
wanted to come back. You know what I mean? And to me, that always spoke volumes about a city because most other cities wouldn't do that.
Right.
Folk
It's
would not.
special, man.
Yeah. And
It's
can you?
Go ahead.
What were you saying?
No, I'm saying it's just a special. It's something. It's a charm that now that I've actually been around the world and stuff, like I really fully appreciate it because I didn't always appreciate it because not being a jazz musician myself, I used to get frustrated with there being no industry here. No infrastructure for the music business. There was always music. So, but then, man, I started to realize how special this place is. It's got something, man. Some dust, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I know Lenny Kravitz got a spot down there. I know Solange is out there. So many now celebrities are buying homes in the world.
Yeah. Angelina and them, they down here. It's a bunch of people understand and fall in love with this city and don't want to leave.
Yeah. Now that's dope. Now tell me this because your father's a gospel musician, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest thing is, JR, I'm gonna let you tell the story because he just told me this right before we got on for this interview.
All right.
Okay.
So I was telling my mom that I was doing, a podcast with PJ Morton, right? So my mother was like, Morton, that sounds familiar. And I was like, well, we know somebody named Morton. And she was like, it's his father named Paul. And I was like, Paul? She was like, Paul Morton Sr.? I was like, I think so. She was like, JR, are you kidding me? We played him all your life. And I was like, what? You have? She was like, are you kidding me? We played the We Offer Christ
Wow.
VHS all your life. So you're going to tell me you don't remember your tears? You're going to tell
That's
me you don't
crazy.
remember his yoke is early? Like, are you kidding me? And she went off because I was like, oh, snap. I didn't put two and two together. And that's why I'm so mad that I didn't get onto your music earlier. And I got
Yeah.
on to when I got to Gumbo. So now when I went back and I was explaining to mom, she was like, you should be ashamed of yourself because you knew his father. So how could you not know? How do you not
Right.
know? Put the two and two together. I was like, oh man. So
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, well, see, so that was part of the reason why I left too. That was a huge shadow.
right,
That was some huge shoes to fill, and because I knew that didn't want to be a gospel singer, I
right.
took the harder route, and just really tried to grind on my own. You know what I'm
I
saying?
understand
And
that.
I mean, I was called a PJ my family called me PJ my whole life. But
Right.
even deciding to, be PJ Morton and not Paul Morton Jr., as an artist, all of that you played a part because I just wanted to prove myself as myself. You know what I'm saying? And now people are catching up. But it's cool now. Me and my father joke about it because it used to be, oh yeah, you Paul Morton's son, right? You Paul Morton's son. And now they walk up to him like, yo, you PJ Morton's dad. You know what I'm saying?
Word,
Like,
that's I'm for real. And then you got
yeah,
Stevie on your joint. I mean, come on. I
yeah,
think you good
yeah,
now.
yeah. No, it's amazing now. And I left New Orleans for years, 10 plus years, and now I'm back, and the city's embraced me in a crazy way, and it's on my own merit, so it's love.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now that's dope because what I wanted to talk about was kind of like, and you touched on a little bit. How
Hmm.
was I guess, your father's opinion or the church's opinion of you not wanting to do gospel music? I mean,
Right.
I know that's huge. One of my favorite movies, The Five Heartbeats with Choir Boy.
Oh yeah.
How was that for you? You know, was it accepted at first? Was it not accepted? How did that work?
Well, and I started writing like R&B songs probably when I was, 13, 14
Mhm.
when I got on to Stevie Wonder. So initially, I think like any parent, they thought that I was like rebelling or trying to, trying to be rebellious. So they pushed back a little bit, like, no, you're not gonna, you're not even gonna be a preacher. So if you're gonna do music, at least you're gonna do gospel music. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But um, once it once it went on and they saw that it was more purpose and like who I was, it wasn't me rebelling. It just was who I was. Then they became my number one supporters and have been since. Like just rocking with me in a major way and like they don't let nobody mess with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They love what I do, man, and they put it out there that they love what I do, and I think it helped them too. Because my issue with that, the secular versus sacred was always, how's a love song bad if you fell in love with my mother and you had me and you didn't marry her the first day you met her. You know what I'm saying? So I just
Right.
started asking hard questions and didn't understand why in song form it's wrong, but in life it's not. So um once I started to put it simply like that and like address it in that way, they really, it became clearer to them that it was just generational. That was just a church thing that came through generations and didn't have anything to do with God, like religion. You know what I'm saying? Like my
That I was
song
just
religion,
about to say that. You said that in
nothing,
religion.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with that. That was just them. That was humanity saying, no, somebody said that, and then they just passed it down and down and down, and nobody asked the question
Right.
to be like, well, is that wrong for real? Like, so they are my number one supporters though, for sure.
All right, that's dope. That's dope, and that's always been a beef that I've had because even from going to church and people like, "Oh, Kill, you gonna give away your CDs now?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not." Like, it's always
Yeah.
been my thing of like, it's always been about the music. I remember one time we were doing a fast at my church, and they was like, "Oh no, you can't listen to your Jay-Z, but yo, we about to go check out Chris Rock new movie." And I'm like, "Yo, time out, hold tight, like, yo, there's
Right,
gonna
right,
be
right.
more cursing in this Chris Rock movie than this entire Jay-Z CD." So
Right.
again, why
Right.
is it just music? It's like there's no problem. One of my homegirls, she was like, "Yo, Kill, can I borrow Bad Boys too?" And I'm like, "You do know there's more cursing in the first scene of Bad Boys with the Ku Klux
In the
Klan
whole record.
and an entire camera and the whole Rock Nation artists
Right,
more cursing
right.
in one scene." But it's just like we never put the two and two together. So I definitely feel you on that. With now
No
getting
doubt.
onto the Maroon 5 stuff. Now I read that Adam Blackstone, who I'm from Philly, so he from Jersey, but we don't
Yeah.
really claim too many other folk, but he like a Philadelphian to us.
Right. Well, he on the Philly side of Jersey, so
Right, right, right. Philly don't claim nobody. We don't claim Kobe. People like, yo, I heard
Word.
Kobe was from Philly. I'm like, nah, he from Upper Marion. That ain't Philly.
Right, right, right.
We don't even claim one of the best basketball players ever. That's how tough it is in Philly. But
Word.
Adam Blackstone put you down with the whole Maroon 5. How did that come together? And what was that? The thing that's so dope to me about that is that we're living in a time where bands don't exist. And Maroon 5 being
Yeah.
one of the biggest bands in the world. How did that come together? And what has it been like being a part of that?
Right. Well, how the Blackstone thing came into play was Questlove was coming in. They wanted Questlove to be a music director for a tour of theirs, and they just had started Jimmy Fallon, so he wasn't able to do it. So he recommended Blackstone, and they already wanted a new keyboard player slash singer. So we basically, me and Blackstone came in together, and I was kind of like Blackstone's like, that was his trump card. Like, I'm bringing PJ on to this gig. You know what I'm saying? I know they're gonna love me as a music director because they didn't know him either. So we came in, man, and the rest was basically history. It was the first audition I'd ever had in my life. Um, they brought me out to LA. I played some songs, and we just jammed, and we connected on a personal level. And I mean, we fast forward 7 years, but like you say, bands don't really exist anymore. Those guys have been together since they were 12 years old.
Wow.
So I'm like the newbie at 7 years. Um, but that's been amazing for me. I mean, it basically changed my life, being a part of that.
Now,
And they,
I'm sorry, my man wanted me to ask this. Are you still part of that group?
oh yeah. We still going strong. Yeah, well, we were about to put out a record this month, but we just pushed the album back. Um, but yeah, working on a new album right now, and we're touring. Well, we just did Jazz Fest last week in New Orleans,
Okay.
and but we're doing a South American tour in September. So that's still
Yeah.
going strong. I'm double dutying it, man.
I hear that. I hear that.
Keeping myself busy. But yeah, I don't. There's no reason for me to not do that, to do what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? They support me so much. I've done as much as um, doing double duty on tour, where they'll let me open the tour as PJ Morton and
That's so
and
dope.
close as Maroon. You know what I'm saying? I just did that New Year's Eve. Opened up for the band, changed my clothes, and then close.
I
as
know
Maroon
that's
5,
right.
so. Yeah, so they show love because they don't have to do that, but it's love.
Right.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. Now, tell me this. So, did you always know you wanted to be a solo artist, or was it more so like the Maroon 5 going on tour? You just like, all right, this is dope, but I got something that I want to say.
Well, no, they solo artists. Like Blackstone knew me as a solo artist already. I had put out like 2 independent albums already, by that point. I was actually on a tour for one of the albums that I put out, called Walk Alone. And
Oh
so
yes.
so they were already aware, and I always respected that. So I was already saying what I was going to say, but initially I never wanted to be a solo artist. I started this band in college called Freestyle Nation, and I wanted to be the keyboard player, and that was it. I was going to write songs and play keys, but like the more it changed, the more it evolved, I started to be the singer, but I always loved bands, because I played keys, so it was like, that's your homies, is your brothers in the band, but it worked out where I'm became a solo artist. But if you look at my band, that's the squad. They've been with me forever. I grew up with my drummer in New Orleans. We had a band when I was 12, he was 14. So I still got my people around me.
So was that the band where you played with the Perfect Song album that you did?
Yeah, PJ Morton band. Yeah, Big
Yes.
Ed. Big Ed is the drummer, and Brian's still my bass player. Jesse still plays with me. So those guys. That was the second band. The first band was Freestyle Nation. PJ
Okay.
Morton band was that was a derivative of that. All of us were in Freestyle Nation too.
Oh, okay. Because I love Running. I cannot stop playing Running.
Yeah.
Running goes in. I love that record.
Thank you.
Oh,
We need to pull that back out live. We never play that.
oh, please do. Can y'all play that? And can you play Start Over again?
His press shows.
Yes, man.
That's dope. Now talk a little bit about Young Money, because you signed with them. Lil Wayne, New Orleans. How did that come together, and what was that process like?
Yeah, that was after I just had joined Maroon, and Mac Main, who I went to St. Augustine, I went to high school with. He's a music dude, who was trying to diversify Young Money really, and bring in some other types of things. I think they knew that for the future, it needed to have some different looks,
Right.
So we did the deal, and I came in and worked on this album called New Orleans, and it's a great album. Like, Stevie was on there, Adam Levine, Busta Rhymes, got nominated for a Grammy for it.
No, that's right. Put the plug in, PJ. Put the plug in. I hear that.
It was a good era, but also I knew that moving forward, we just didn't see eye to eye on the way to roll it out. You know what I'm saying? They were used to mixtapes and mixtape shows, and I, as the type of artist that I was, I knew that I wasn't just gonna be throwing out a bunch of songs and
Right.
giving music away for free. That my process is too crazy, too deep to, like, you know what I'm saying? And they didn't understand the value of touring. Touring being my mixtape. Me playing live is the way. That's my mixtapes. You know what I'm saying? Getting in front of people and playing. So they didn't necessarily see that value. Maybe Young Money did, but baby, Cash Money didn't. Which they when you see this what's going on
Right,
with Wayne and
right.
Baby, but ultimately Cash Money makes those decisions. So I asked to leave after my first album, and they allowed me to get out of my contract, and um, you know that now we at Morton Records,
That's dope. But that's love.
the boutique label that I started here.
I mean, that's love that they even let you leave, because you hear so much about artists being held up and everything like
For
that.
sure,
Right.
for sure. No, it could have went a different way. It could have went a different way. So I'm appreciative that they saw that. I think they knew what they had, and they respected me. It was love. They was like, yeah, we're not just gonna hold him for the sake of holding him. So I appreciated that.
That's dope. That's dope. Now you touched on the Grammy nom. I want to talk about only one with Stevie Wonder, because number one, I hear a heavy Stevie influence on you.
Hmm.
The thing
Yeah,
that I love about it is that I feel like there's a heavy Stevie influence, but you're not biting Stevie.
I was just about to say that.
right,
It's a very fine
Right.
line, because there's sometimes where I can hear people, I'm like, you sound a little bit too much like Primo. Like,
right, right,
to be an influence, and I feel like you take that influence, but there's so much more in your music. You know what I mean?
right.
Number one, how was that getting with Stevie Wonder? Because you've already brought up Songs in the Key of Life. You've already mentioned his name 2 or 3 times, just talking about your upbringing. Number one, what was it like getting with Stevie in the studio? How was that for you?
Well, we actually met up like maybe a week before he actually cut it. I actually went on tour, and he cut his part at Wonderland, which I think is cooler than even being in the studio with me. But he cut it at Wonderland and sent it to me, and I thought I was gonna cry. I thought I was gonna cry when I heard it, and but I was so shocked that I couldn't even cry. I was just like, "Yo, Stevie Wonder is actually on this song!" Like I couldn't believe it, man, because literally, and speaking to that influence, um, there was a point in my life when I found out about Stevie Wonder. Not the big songs, not I Just Called to Say I Love You and stuff. Somebody
Right.
gave me a cassette tape or something that had I Never Dreamed You Leaving Summer, and
Oh,
I heard
come
him in a different
on.
way, and I was like, man, I miss Stevie. This wasn't on the radio. So I went on a mission. My father used to give me like a little allowance, so they had a Circuit City by my house, and every week I would buy a new Stevie in chronological order. I just wanted to. So I basically was like in Stevie school for like I don't know how long this was. You could ask Ed. I used to force him to listen to because I wasn't listening to whatever was current at the time. I was just on Stevie, and this is before I was really writing songs and stuff. So that's how I know I'm not biting. I never was biting Stevie. It was a different admiration. It was just like in me, because I was just that's all I was listening to. So when I started to write and sing, stuff started to come out like Stevie. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I was heavily into after that era I was heavily into the Beatles, and then I was heavily into James Taylor, the songwriter James Taylor, and it really was when I hear that stuff. If people only hear Stevie, then they're not really listening. They're not really listening. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
Because that's the obvious thing. Because I can't change my voice and how I sing, and sometimes those little iterations and stuff come out like Stevie. But if you listen, you hear way more than Stevie. And
That's
I was
right.
D'Angelo ahead. Prince, Al Green, Donny Hathaway. So it was all this stuff. I listened to so much music, man. But it did start with Stevie. I won't lie. Like that's all I used to listen to as a kid when I was really impressionable and learning about who I wanted to be as a musician. So I wear that, and especially since I work with him, it solidified. It took it full circle for me. Like That's my hero, man. You know, and I got to work with him. Nothing's bigger than that for me.
Yeah. And that's dope. It's dope that you said that, like with Stevie's school, because for me, I was just always a hip hop head until for me, R&B was just slow jam tapes. That was just all about.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I feel you though. I feel you. Yeah.
Go back and forth. I'm just being honest with you. That's what that was for, and it wasn't until D'Angelo came out with Brown Sugar that I was like, wow, okay, like,
Yeah. You put that hip hop on it.
Yeah, and it was this article, and I mean, I never, because just like with you, I'm a student of the music, and it was an XXL article from '97. This chick Tanya Pendleton wrote this piece on D'Angelo called Voodoo Child, and she explained him as being a nigga's nigga, and that's the best way that I can ever look at D. Is it's like niggas looked at him like, yo, all right, like it's almost like the Allen Iverson effect, like people being like,
True.
I can see me in Allen Iverson. It was like I could see in D'Angelo, you know, and she wrote in this XXL article, he goes into how he would study the masters of Marvin, Sly, James, Stevie, all of it. And it made me realize my homegirl used to always call me a quilt maker because she'd be like, Kill, you just take the records and sample them. You don't even take the time to really digest the music. And the exact same thing you did is the same thing I did. As soon as I got my first gig out of college, I'd go down in Baltimore, down to Lexington Market, and I would always buy a different Marvin Gaye CD. Then I would buy, because all I knew were the songs on the radio. So just like you said, it would be a ribbon in the skies. Like, nah, let's have a talk with God. You know, I wanted to know.
Right.
That's right.
You know, and that's one of the things to me that's missing nowadays, that a lot of people don't want to go out and do the work. They don't want to do the research. And I always tell people, you know, whenever somebody, I'm like, yo, what's your favorite Prince song? And they're like, Purple Rain. I'm like, that's cool, but give me something deeper. You know, because the thing with Stevie's, their catalog is so long that you can be a fan and not know any of the album cuts. You know, so it's just dope that you said that. Now, I'm sorry, this question too for that Stevie piece. How did that feel to have your first song nominated for a Grammy? I mean, this is your first thing out the gate. You have some artists who are never nominated for a Grammy. How did that feel for that being your first joint for you?
Right. Well, yeah. So I'd experienced so I won my first Grammy as a junior at Morehouse for something that I wrote and produced for NDRE.
Yeah.
So I knew what it felt like to enjoy a Grammy nod and then a Grammy win, but never as an artist, right? So like that was my first time as an artist being nominated for Best R&B Song and Steve alongside Stevie.
Right.
That just, you know, sometimes you just need reminders to let you know, like, all right, you're on the right path, like keep going. You know, there are times where you want to chill. And that was one of those times where, especially, you know, that was towards the end of the Young Money era for me. That was one of those things like, man, okay, I'm still supposed to be doing this, you know. I'm still supposed to be doing this the way I'm doing it. So, but that's up there for me, man. That's up there for me.
Yeah, it gotta be. Now tell me this: the video for "Work It Out," which I love, it's the ill concept. You know, it's the ill concept for people who haven't seen it. He's like laying on a barge, locked up,
crazy.
With his ocean. So, where did the concept come from? Did you come up with it? Who came up with that concept? Because I always love stuff that's out the box. I always love stuff that's not average. So, how did that come about?
I didn't come up with the concept. My homie Travis Snyder came up with the actual concept. But what I came up with, the way we got to that was, I told him I didn't want to do a normal relationship storyline video of a guy they're beefing with his girl and then deciding they could work it out. I'm like, let's go left, man. Let's go. And he came with that. And as soon as he told me, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. Let's go. That was the hardest video shoot I ever been on though, because
I bet
they didn't drop me in the water, but I was up there in the air for, I don't know, hours, man. And every few minutes, every 15 minutes, they would drop me, and then I'll be dropped right before the water. And it was cold out there. It was that was a hard shoot, but I love. We went movie. We went big for that joint. So I'm proud of that video.
Yeah, that joint was bananas, man. That joint was bananas. Now, here's the other thing. In listening to your music and starting with Gumbo and then going backwards, I've always hear a heavy breakbeat influence in your music, a
Yeah.
very hip hop feel in your music. The joint "Work It Out" with Busta, where you use the break, the tip break from "Let's Ride," that Dilla, to me, the
Oh yeah.
dopest hip hop producer ever.
I
Put
agree.
down. Oh, okay, good. See, we good peoples there.
Oh God, here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I mean, Dilla just, he's the most human, I think, of all of them. And I mean, Q-Tip is one of my favorite producers too. But I think he's a child. He was, that influence. They was all in the same tribe. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Dilla,
Right.
the way he chopped that stuff, man, it's like mad scientist for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So where does that is that just a hip hop influence on you? Because even in on God's on the new album, it's just there's always, even when it's just the drummer playing, it has a heavy breakbeat feel
Mm-hmm.
to it. So how does hip
Yeah.
hop
I think that's just
into your
being a
music?
child. That's being a child of hip hop. Just the way I was influenced by it. And I think for me, like you said, I mean, I've always loved R&B, but I always wanted just a little edge on there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want it to just. And I love beautiful music. I got string orchestras and everything, but like when it comes to them drums, I just need you to feel it in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just being a child of hip hop of my generation, where it's like, yeah, I'm R&B, I'm soul, but I need you to feel this in your chest a little bit. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, right.
So yeah, I always kind of wanted that to be a part of whatever I do.
All right. And you brought it up, and I was gonna bring it up later, but the string arrangements
Yeah,
on Gumbo are just
Amazing.
it
thank
puts
you.
me in the mindset because not too many people do a lot of that anymore. Ralph
Right.
is one of my favorites who has amazing string sections. Where did that come from for you? Like just wanting to get that feel of that. Like where did that come from?
I was actually listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra when I was creating this album. Or right before I was creating it, I just was listening to Frank. And this is the first time I went on a Frank binge like this, but I was listening to Frank over and over and over. And that's really was my favorite thing about it was those string arrangements that he had. And, I watched his documentary and all of that. And the relationship he would have with his arrangers and stuff, like that was he was tightest with them. Because they said Frank could be a lot to deal with, like with everybody, but he always respected his arranger, and I just kind of got enamored with that. And I've always been a love Disney too, you know what I'm saying? So I think this time it was just eh, what I was writing allowed me to like merge all those worlds for me, where it's like this is gonna be a super soul album, but I want those strings to be lush like those huge pop records and those huge Disney
Hmm.
records from back in the day. So um that's where that came from. I not knowing it, until later, but it was like, oh, that's where I was listening to all that Frank over and over, and that's where. So everything I started to write, I was hearing these big arrangements with them, and I reached out to my guy Matt Jones. Shout out to Matt Jones in Chicago, who is my favorite string arranger right now, and we just partnered up. And he gets when I send him something, he just gets it immediately and like understands where I want to go with these arrangements. So
All right.
yeah.
That's dope. And I'm loving this interview because you're feeding right into everything I want to ask next. Because I was going to say, now to get to the meat and potatoes of gumbo, where were
Mhm.
you mentally going into it? I know you were saying you were listening to some Frank, but when I hear people like you who are a songwriter, composer, singer, all of those things comprised, it's almost like me and JR did a show when Prince passed away, and people were saying, well, what are you guys going to talk about? I'm like, the show's going to be forever because Prince was so many different things.
Right.
You know what I mean? He wasn't just a singer. And I
Hmm.
feel that with your music, it's not just that you're a singer. And I always believe in creating. You're somewhere mentally. So mentally going into this album, coming out of the Frank binge, where were you when you was like, let's write, let's get this movement going? Where were you mentally?
Well, I was coming out of a huge, a really long, in my opinion, um, writer's block, and so there was frustration. I was living in LA, and that's where Claustrophobic was born. Uh, but I was frustrated. I was in a state of frustration, so I knew that I wanted to speak to that frustration as an artist. and then I was frustrated with the climate, with the political climate.
Mm.
Um, you know what I'm saying? And so I kind of felt like Marvin did when he was. I just knew that I just couldn't write a bunch of love songs this time around. It was like I got to say more than that. Like well, when I left LA and moved back to New Orleans, all of that played a part into this the writing of this. Me actually moving was me actually moving musically too, to say, okay, now I'm going deeper, because my move to New Orleans was saying, all right, I'm in a successful band, I'm in California, great, I could just be here, I could just stay here. But my move to New Orleans was, but what am I leaving in the world? Like what's my legacy? What am I leaving behind? What am I saying? What's my purpose? So that's the album came with that same thing of, all right, I'm back in New Orleans. What's my purpose? What am I gonna say more than that? That's where the name Gumbo came from too, because I wanted it to be a mixture of all this different subject matter made in New Orleans, and that's what Gumbo is. You know what I'm saying? So that was definitely the mindset. So you have clusters of stuff. So it's like, um, me talking to people, artistic freedom is sticking to my guns, and claustrophobic. They kind of go hand in hand. Then you got all right, and everything's gonna be all right, which is dealing with the tension. Religion, deals with that. Then you have the love song. You got First Began and How Deep Is Your Love, and They Gonna Want to Come was that's my fake friends. That's my Drake fake. That's my version. You know what I'm saying? I just got to be a little more prolific with it. You know what I'm saying? But that's something I dealt with. It's like, man, they be with you, when it's popping, and like when you're going through a change, or when you're trying to figure this out, or you're not giving them exactly what they need, then you know, they show you who they are. So I was a bunch of different places, and I think coming out of a writer's block that was longer than I was used to, I think once it started to flow, it's like, man, I got a lot to say. I haven't said anything in a little minute.
So when you talk about How Deep Is My Love, that's actually one of my favorite songs ever. Like literally,
Right.
the Bee Gees. And it's funny because I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I know these words. Like, and then you hit it.
Yeah.
What made you want to redo that?
Yes.
Couple reasons, man. I mean, just that melody is one of my favorite melodies of all time, just as a song. So I just went on this search because I wanted to do a cover song. We slip in covers and stuff live, but I've never done it on the album.
Mm.
But D'Angelo used to do it, with Feel Like Making Love and Cruising. You know what I'm saying? And Stevie did it with like We Can Work It Out, and it was a Beatles song, and Signed, Sealed, Delivered. All of these, they always kind of put in a cover in there. I don't know what it was, but it's just a take on something that was familiar. So then I looked at the top 20 biggest songs of all times, and How Deep Is Your Love was in that list, like 10 or something. And I'm like, man, this beautiful song was like one of the biggest of all times. Like, I just felt like I could tap into that same thing. And I always heard the soul in the Bee Gees,
Right.
it was in there, but I was like, let me take it all the way. I'm gonna take it all the way to the soul, and that's really what played the part in it.
And when I heard that song, because I love like the Gumbo album, how it was going off about it, To Kill about it. But when I got to How Deep Is Your Love, that joint made me cry for real, because the way you did it was, I was like, whoa, because I was like, where is he going with this? And I'm such a soul head. I felt it. I felt like, for real, to be honest with you, I felt like when I heard your version of How Deep Is Your Love, I felt like when I heard In the City Blues for the first time. I felt like I was riding with you, PJ, while you was telling us about what's going on and how we need love in this world. And I was like, whoa, how he ended the album like this. I was like, yeah, if I'm a cry, let it be at the end. You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, you know what I mean? So it was just, that's why I talked about that joint. And because I do my R&B bangers like every week. And I talk about like indie artists that don't really get they shine like that. And I said, I want to talk about a song that I know everybody's not going to talk about on his Gumbo album. I know everybody's going to go to Claustrophobic. I know everybody's going to go, it's going to be all right. I want to go to a song that I know nobody's going to really talk about because they're going to say, oh, it's a cover. But I'm like, the way PJ did this cover, it is amazing, dog. And I definitely wanted to give you bigs up on how you did that, for real, for real.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's love.
I don't want to keep it because I know you're in the lab. I don't want to stop you from making music. Real quick.
All good.
Well, not quick, as much time as you got, but I got my 5 favorite songs from living with your whole discography for the past 2 weeks. I've got 5 of my favorite songs. Just want to know if you could tell me. I'm a studio head. I love the behind the scenes stories. Can you talk a little bit about Trade It All? It's my favorite song off of New Orleans.
Yeah, mine too.
About that session and where that came.
That was gonna be the next single, actually. Before we chilled, Trade It All, man. I had to go back in my head. I remember where I made it in LA. But that progression, that down, 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 ba-da-da, I had that forever and couldn't write a song to it. But I just knew that felt good, even with no words. It always felt good, you know. And then one day the chorus came. I traded up, does it be? And then sometimes when a chorus is that simple, that's going with the music, then the verse I like to go against the grain of what it's doing, you know. So that's why I went to, you know what I'm saying, to go against with because that line is so simple and it starts to. I think the repetitive of that, the repetition of that starts to get into your soul, you know. And then I just wanted to go against it with how my syncopation was against the simplicity of it. But that is one of my joints too, man. That's one of my favorites.
No doubt. Now you touched on a little bit. They gonna want to come, and the reason I love that so much is I love the line. You weren't in here shooting in the gym, so don't be here when the win. And it made me think of one of my favorite rappers is Joe Buns. He has a song called Castle where he says, if you wasn't here for the ride, don't be here for the park.
Right.
And I said in my review of it, I'm like, yo, if we still lived in the era of answering machines, this would just be on my answering machine.
Word.
Answering machine. I know you touched on it a little bit before, but just a little bit about that session and just how that went.
Yeah. So let me see. Trying to think how I started. I think I started that on piano. Oh no, I remember because that was one of the breakthroughs. That was one of the breakthroughs. Like I'm telling you, man, this was some serious writer's block. First Began came first, but like a long time ago. Just as I knew that I had, I get the fear. I get real fear. Like, man, am I gonna ever write a good song again? Like I get crazy like that. But First Began came, and I was like, okay, you can at least write a song, cool. But then nothing came for real, for a while. Claustrophobic came out of frustration.
Oh, you could tell.
I'm like, all right, let me get out of here. Let me get out this office, man, and go write some music. But then They Gonna Wanna Come was the first breakthrough that I knew, okay, I'm starting an album. Like this is, we got something. And I was on the road with Morton actually, and I was making, I would make songs in my hotel room, and that I came up with that music there, and I was in Austin, Texas, and went and just rented a studio out while we were on the road. We had a day off, and I went and cut the demo to that.
Okay.
And then I finished it. When I got off the road, I came to this studio right here, the parlor, and finished it up.
Right.
And then we went to Chicago and cut the strings on it. But yeah, man, that's another thing. It's like I just wanted to get everything, because I saw a review. Somebody say something about the album, say that like Go Through Your Phone wasn't as serious as the, what I really want to get across is that nobody's anything all the time, right? That was my issue with being a gospel artist. It's like I don't want to talk about God all the time because that's not realistic. I don't.
Right.
walk around talking about God all the time, you know.
Right.
But I'm not serious all the time either. It's like, yeah, I hate uh police brutality, but I'm not walking around down all day either.
Right.
You know, and go through your phone was like a real thing as well. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
I wanted to be a complete man, you know, on this record, and that doesn't mean, you know, it's like people start to put these you know, expectations on you. It's like, oh yeah, he's the voice of our culture now, so like he's got to be serious. No, man, I'm gonna just be who I am, and I'm gonna talk about all these different things that I go through in life and that other people go through in life, you know. But they gonna want to come was my, you know, because they talking about that song too, like I was angry. That's what they said or something like that. But maybe I was, you know, you know, thinking about that feeling of, man, sometimes when you're down and trying to figure things out, people aren't there like they were when it was just
That's
popping, you know.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like
So
that's real. Like that's to me, like that's like cheesy rap blues off Mama Said Knock You Out, LL's joint. You know, one of my
right,
favorite L was just talking about when you on top, it's all love, but when you to nobody James, don't nobody care no more. You know what I
right.
mean? So the next joint, Built for Love with Philly's finest Jasmine Sullivan. Just for
Oh
folk who
yeah, one
haven't
of the
heard it.
best.
Yeah.
How did that come about, yo?
Hold tight, JR. Let me just deal with these lyrics. Always talk about is there's no real lyrics in R&B and soul, but it ain't easy loving you when the lights are shut off and the rent is due, but somehow you always make it through. That's what I call love. So even when I fuss and complain, baby, know I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying right here. That's what I call love.
Yeah.
How did that come together?
That's all Jasmine right there. So I, you know, usually I write these songs even when I ask artists to come on, like everything's gonna be all right. I asked BJ to cut. I had the verse written already, you know. With Jasmine, she's such a dope writer that I left her verse open. I'm like, just write whatever you wanna, you know what I'm saying? I respect it too much where I'm like, I don't want to say, and I wanted it to be from her perspective too. I wanted it to be that type of thing. So I wrote the first verse and the bridge, the rest of the song, but I let her write that verse, and that came back to me, and I'm like, okay, that, you know, like that's why you Jasmine. You know, I feel like she is, you know, I feel like there's only a few where it's like the real thing, like the real thing, you know, and she's to me one of the rare jewels, man, out here where it's like she's the real thing. Like there's no fake with that. Like that's she's just got it. Whatever it is, she has it.
That's right.
That's dope. That's dope. And just like always, you lead right into it. Everything's gonna be all right with BJ, the Chicago kid. One of the things I was talking
Yeah.
to JR about is what I love about this whole soul movement of music right now is that it seems like a lot of y'all really rock with each other. You know, whereas in
Yeah.
hip hop, we have a lot of these new dudes beefing with each other. And there's really no unity in hip hop. I miss those days where Kane would shout out EPMD and other rappers and their rhymes, and it was all
Right.
love, you know.
Right. Right.
Whereas now we're kind of going a different way. Whereas with soul and R&B, you know, BJ's on your project, you know, BJ's on Pac's project, you know, cats are coming together more.
Hmm.
What do you attribute that to? And then talk a little bit about the making of Everything's Gonna Be All Right.
Well, you just said it. You know what I'm saying? Well, that was at a time where hip hop was the underdog, right? And it was the new thing, and it was like, so they had to team up. It's like, man, we know that we the underdogs, you know. So that's how me and BJ and Anderson, and that's how we feel. It's like we these soul dudes trying to survive in this era right now of music. And so we see a kinship, you know what I'm saying? Well, I've known BJ for 10 years, you know what I'm saying? We've been boys for a long time. So that was, you know, like everything I try to make is that was the organic, you know what I'm saying? I worked on his album. I wrote Church, you know, I co-wrote Church with him and Chance. Yeah,
That's
and so when it came time to my album, it was just like, you know, and I was on Man Down. I'm singing on Man Down on his album. So we all just cross collaborate. But I think it's at that time where Q-Tip would call Buster, and they would, you know what I'm saying? And that was just, it was like we got really, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So we
Right.
got to rock with each other, you know, to make it a movement. And You know, I think hip hop is so spoiled now that's why they have immediate beefs, because it's like we so spoiled. We the hottest thing in music right now. So like we don't have to, you know, it's just very spoiled right now. I think so that you have lost that brotherhood of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's gonna be all right. That's one that came out of the frustration. But instead of being frustrated, I wanted to offer like some positivity and encouragement. Like, you know, we've been here before, so you know, we're gonna be all right. You know, I know it's crazy, but you know, so it was that simple. I just wanted to create like a soul anthem that made everybody feel good.
And I think
And that joint feels so good live, man.
oh man, I could only imagine. And the thing that I also love about the album that I feel is a lost art is just the way that it's put together, the track listing of it. You know, the sequence of the album feels good because you're coming out of All Right, where like you said, you're talking about, you know, I can't take no more, you know, everything seems, you know, and you're saying it's gonna be all right, but then it goes right into the praise worship right after it. You know what I mean? And I think
Mm-hmm.
and it's so awesome. And then the last song is First Began. Bruh, I can't tell you how many times I listened to this song in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I literally had to be like, all right, Kill, get the song too, or we ain't together.
That was me too.
You gotta push
Right.
and the words, if I die, I hope to find you in another life so that we can fall again. It be the way when we first began. The first time I ever saw you smile. We need that feeling again. It be the way we met when we first began. I mean, bruh, those are like wedding songs to me.
Yeah.
Like those are like those lyrics of like we've been together, we thugged it out. And it's funny, you know, I'm not at the JR place if I didn't cry. But
You ain't even have to say it like that. Don't do that. You're not gonna do this with PJ on here. No, you're not.
you didn't have to say you cried. You could have stopped. But you admitted
But
it.
I'm honest. That's what R&B is about. It's about
It's strength.
honesty.
It's strength in crime, man. Strength in crime.
Thank you, PJ. Thank you. Kill tried it with you on here. He ain't gonna pump me like that. No, you're not. But go ahead with your story. Go ahead.
I wasn't there, but it very much happened. Me and my wife are celebrating 17 years this year.
Oh,
so
congrats, man.
Thank you, man. We were just talking about marriage and how much of the hardest job you will ever do, you know.
For sure.
But it just makes me think about her. You know, it makes me think about when you talk about the first time I ever saw you smile. You know, and it took me to the first time I saw her smile and just how incredible that song is. I know you just said it's been done for a while. How did that come together? Because these are some amazing lyrics.
Was two things about that I think really made that song cut through. And I mean, of course, the melody and of it, the melody and stuff. Usually, where that I can't stop playing, like even before I have words, that those changes were just there already. But one word was die. I start thinking about like the thing that was what's the most drastic thing that could happen, period. And I said the word die, and it's like, dang, when you say that word, it's like death, man. That's, you know, so I just knew that was gonna cut when I said that. But also, just literally thinking of that first thing, like when we think about like crushes and stuff, like how pure that used to be, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that this was something that everybody could relate to, because you get all in the hustle and bustle. You know, I'm married 8 years on Christmas, so and you got so much going on, but like when you get back to that pure like just beginning thing where it was no thinking, no trying, it was just a natural, just like, man, I can't even believe, you know what I'm saying? So I just knew that it was going to be something that people could relate to, and it always felt good. That was one that I was always kind of sure of the feeling. I never doubted the feeling when it first began. It was always there, and no matter how I do it, like just on the piano with the band, like it always does something special, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something special. I'm glad you touched on it again. Moving right in before we end the interview. Talk to me a little bit about 8 years of marriage. That's amazing. I salute you. I always tell people one of my side hustles is doing marriage coaching. 8 years is like 30 years nowadays.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I got people going through divorce every day. Just if you can, just a tidbit. How do y'all make it work? You know, with you being on tour, with your schedule, what's one of the What's one of
Right.
those that y'all just have that just, that makes it work? It may be a FaceTime every night. It may be this, it may be that. But what is it that you could give to people who are out here struggling in their marriage, wondering if they
Right.
want to get a divorce? What's a little piece you could give to them?
Right. Because it's hard. Period. Right. Just like if I was there
Yeah,
every day,
just
but then
every day.
I gotta be gone. And add that on top of it. But you know what? We were really good friends first. And I think the friendship has gotten us through the times where we might have walked away. It's the friendship of like, man, that's my friend. Let me talk to my friend and
Right.
figure this out. But yeah, the FaceTime, the staying in communication, because I think what happens is even this, like I was just talking, somebody was asking me about challenges of balancing family life, and I always talked about my father traveled a lot, but he was just always present when he was there. You know, so I just try to be very present because what happens is you could be living in the same house 9 to 5, coming home every day and not be present. And when you stop communicating, when you stop talking, and this new thing happens in your life and you don't say it, and you growing and you changing, and they're not changing with you, that's when that growing apart starts to happen. So I think the constant communication and like, and, even down to the point of, oh man, I read this new book and I know that it gave me something and I learned something from it. I'd be like, you should read this, just so we stay connected and I don't go too far, you know what I'm saying? And I don't get too many experiences without her being able to relate to it and we not become strangers. So I know people talk about communication all the time, but I think that friendship and the communication is the key for us for sure.
All right, dope, man. Well, look, man, I appreciate your time. I want you to get back to creating, but please give them all your information where they can buy the album, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. And one quick
Yeah.
question: are you coming out with a physical copy? Because I'm old. I'm 43.
I was just about to say that. I want a physical copy.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out physical copies for people to order. I mean, I'm definitely gonna have it on tour.
Okay.
And then we're doing vinyl in the summer as well.
Oh yeah, I'm getting that.
But yeah, I got to figure out, because I almost didn't do physical at all, but I have had physical like at the release party, and we got some record stores here. So I'm figuring that out, but we gonna figure a way to get some physical copies to you, man.
All right.
But it's available everywhere digitally right now, like everywhere. And I am at PJ Morton on Instagram and Twitter at PJMorton. On Facebook, I'm the PJ Morton, I believe. And website is pjmortononline.com. And yeah, I'm out there. I'm in these streets.
That's
Yeah,
what it is. Well, again, man, I thank you for your time. I thank you for this incredible album, and not just this one, but now going back to do the knowledge and do my digging. And I'm
right.
New Orleans. I'm loving a lot of the stuff. So I just want to thank you for that, bro. So again, man, good looking for sitting in with us. JR, you got something?
Right.
Yeah, I just want to thank you honestly because I felt like with Gumbo, you gave us Intervisions, the first finale, and Songs of the Key of Life. And for
Wow.
me, I play it every day. That's why Kill had to go and listen to it because I talked about it so much. And I'm a big Stevie
Right.
Wonder fan. And like I can know when somebody's biting and you're not biting. Like, so I really, really want to thank you. Like, I've been going crazy over this album. That's why I thought you called it Gumbo, because you did all three of those albums put together. That was just my thought. But I really want, and now face to face with you, I really want to say thank you, because the R&B lover like me, we need that. And you're making it current for this young generation to really understand. And I really, really want to thank you. Really, really. This is an amazing album, and I cannot stop talking about it to everybody. So I really want to thank you. Now that I'm face to face with you, I really want to tell you that.
Much love, man. I appreciate y'all, man. You know, it helps. I knew that I was taking a chance, and doing exactly what I wanted to do, and it wasn't necessarily was popular or anything, but it's stuff like this, man, that lets me know that I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I appreciate y'all the love on it for real. I could feel the love, and,
Yeah.
I could feel that y'all really listening to this record, like it really understand what's going on, and I appreciate it because I need people y'all like y'all out there, So it's all love, man.
So when you come to Baltimore, if you do, and if I'm going crazy in the audience, you will see me because I have a cup in my hand ready too. So
There we go. There we go. Word. I look forward to it, man. I look forward to it.
yeah.
Y'all should know what it is, man. I'll check y'all next week. PJ, again, thank you so much for your time, bro.
Thank you, PJ.
My pleasure. Peace, man.